thing, just respect to my family and friends that were survived or were killed 15 years ago today in my hometown, and I'll leave that alone. And it's my honor to introduce my brother, the host, the boss, Mr. Gary Heseltine. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Right, I should hope that everybody is now sat. Oh, well done, Tino. The sheep have come in. Thank you very much. I appreciate that you are badgered into submission almost, but it really is the only way you can stick to a schedule. I said this earlier, but you will actually appreciate it by the end of the day. It doesn't take long to get into what we need. It's the only way it can work. So I appreciate you putting up with me, but believe me, you do need some kind of town crier to get everybody back, else it just, the schedule slips and slips and slips. And we have a finite time to be out of here, and of course tonight we clear up. So again, we have to do things to a schedule. Right, phones, whose is that phone? Where are you? I don't want to point you out, but where are you? Silent, please. We've all done it. Right, okay, my lectures, actually the first time ever, I've not actually done a PowerPoint. And that's because the emphasis of my lecture is going to be a little bit different. Ordinarily, when we come to conferences, we generally have presenters going through a PowerPoint presentation with the occasional clip of some UFO anomalous image or video clip, usually brief. And for a long time, I kind of thought, well, I want to do something different now and again, and I took it this year to do it. And the reason why I have to do it, decided to do it this way, is because about 5 years ago, I started to see clips on YouTube of what were Nightvision clips of alleged UFO or anomalous objects. And I thought, oh, that's interesting, I'm going to get a pair of Nightvision goggles myself. And I ended up paying about £350 for a pair of what's called Yukon Night Ranger. They're kind of between generation 1 and 2 for those technically minded. But basically, what drew me to them is I read a good review of it, but for me, what drew me to them was the fact that these binoculars, for want of a better word in layman's language, they just look like a pair of binoculars. They had a video out, which meant that whatever you were looking at, you could actually record by hooking it into a laptop and then using some kind of software to see whatever was on the screen through the lens was then fed into a screen in your laptop. And for those people who have ever done any kind of like night vision work or anything like that, if you are just using them to your eyes, I tell you, one, you start to get your eyes adjust because it's usually one lens, even though maybe it looked like a pair of binoculars, there's usually only one lens that you're looking through. And if you've ever done that for a couple of minutes, you take it away, and like everything is really dark, your other eye's normal, and it's a bit weird. And it's not really very comfortable to do that for very long. Your arms ache, you're looking up all the time. So what I found was the best way to use night vision equipment, and the most comfortable way, is actually to just attach it like a camera to a tripod, the video lead, video out, hook it into the laptop. Your laptop can be sat, you can have your little chair outside looking at the night sky, feed it in, little table, laptop on there, and all you do, instead of looking through your eyes, you actually look through the screen of the laptop. And all you do is just pan around, looking up at the sky, up, down, left, right. Very comfortable, apart from making your arm ache. But no, seriously, so easy, any of us could do it. So what I decided was, I'm going to try this for the first time. And a very strange thing happened the first time I used it. And I'm going to go into a clip now. I put together a montage of some night footage that I've been doing over 5 years. And basically, this was the very first sequence, and it's gone a bit blurry, I don't know, I think that will clear it a second. Right, there you go. And basically, what you have is, the first sequence I've got is this pair. Now what night vision means is, it's not a miracle, but what it does is it brings up objects and gives them light that you ordinarily wouldn't see. We have a very limited spectrum in our normal vision. So this enhances light. So on what you might think is there's 50 stars when you look up with your naked eye, and you think, oh, that's quite a clear night. You look through night vision and you're looking at 5,000 stars because it's picked up on the very pinpoints of light. So literally, when you do this, and I don't know why it's doing that, but when you do this, you start to see objects moving. And the relevance of this is that it was quite quirky because I'd had the binos, the glasses, for about a month. And I'd been looking through my eyes, just using them conventionally like a pair of binoculars. And it gets a bit tiring, like I've just explained. But the very first time, and what is this, all the bars in all the world, the very first time I actually hook it up to the laptop, I get this. And this was 5 years ago. And this is actually a very impressive sequence. Now, it was quite weird. I used to live in Holmfirth. I now live 2 miles away in Scholes, a little village. And for anybody that lives in Holmfirth, most gardens are like at 45-degree angle. So I tiered my garden. On the top I got decking, overlooking the valley. It's a very pretty view of the town. But you did that and you got a great view of the other side of the valley and the sky, etc., etc. And basically, it was quite weird. I just set it up for the first time, top of the decking, and I happened to have my stepson with me, Luke. Now, Luke is not interested in UFOs at all, right? He's the arch skeptic kind of thing. So anyway, I put it up, and I start to pan around, and within about 2-3 minutes, I spot these two objects. And because I'm looking at through the viewfinder of the laptop. I'm not looking through the viewfinder. I'm looking at the laptop. That's effectively my eye on the sky. And as I'm doing it, I go, oh, what's these? And I start following it and panning. And I said, do us a favour, Luke, just look over there somewhere, see if you can see two lights in the sky stacked on top of each other. And I expected him to say they couldn't see a thing. He was, yeah, I see that. I went, what? And I quickly looked over my shoulder and got a visual confirmation that there were two objects stacked. So these weren't at high altitude. These were maybe, I don't know, 5,000 feet. These are not way up in the sky. Silently moving, stacked. But of course I wanted to track them. So basically what I did was go back to it and follow it. And what you ended up with is this 4-minute sequence taken 5 years ago over Holmfirth, and there was no noise whatsoever, as is there is never any noise with these clips, of two objects stacked, moving across the sky. This is a 4-minute sequence. Now I'm trying to work out, I'm not an expert in the night sky, I certainly know more now, 5 years on than what I knew then. But basically I'm looking at these, and I was in the Royal Air Force for 6 years, I know how planes fly in the sky, and they don't fly like this. No noise. So what can these kind of lights be? Now if you've noticed at the end of this clip, where have they gone? Where have they gone? There was a pair there, wasn't there? Where have they gone? They don't look like flares. Do we have formation pairs of flares? Do we really? No, we don't. Now I'm going to pause it there because I want to set up the next sequence. Now, realistically, when you start to spot objects in the sky that are moving slowly with a precise flight path, in my opinion, there can only be 3 answers. If it's not, this is ruling out atmospheric, shooting stars, that kind of thing, meteors and whatever, pieces of debris burning up. But if you come across, in a sense, regular objects that appear on camera as spheres, there can only be 3 things in my opinion. A satellite, an aircraft, or unknown, anomalous. So through a logical process of elimination, let's go through that. Let's examine that sighting. I had a visual, albeit brief, but my stepson saw it. He was watching it with his eyes. This is not high altitude, no noise whatsoever, 2 light sources travelling in a pair, and if you watch that, how many times do you ever see pairs moving across the sky like that? It was almost as if they were tethered in some way, but they're not tethered, and they're not one object, they're not a bar or a dumbbell, because you can see stars between. So these are 2 separate objects. Well, I know from my time in the Air Force, planes don't fly like that. No noise. So really, the only logical explanation is one of 2. It's either satellites passing over, or it's anomalous. All right, so let's now look at whether it's a satellite. Now, I'm not an expert on satellites, but you can go in and look for some basic information. And basically, all satellites travel in the same direction, anti-clockwise around the Earth. I'm doing this in layman's terms. And the reason why they do that is because they don't want to crash into others going the opposite way, I guess. But they are all, in theory, going the same way. Yes, there might be a variation on the angle at which it travels, but they're just in orbit. They're going around, and I think there's thousands of satellites going around, but going one way. So in theory, and not being scientific, but just using common sense as a form of detective, is I go, okay, they're satellites. It's a satellite formation, and they go in one way. So in theory, we should never see any other object going the opposite way that looks the same. Does that kind of make sense? If everything's going that way, around the motorway kind of thing, we shouldn't be meeting traffic going the other way, because that's what we're told, they all go one way. But in reality, when you start to do night vision, you see a whole host of strange things. Left, right, up, down, pairs, triangles, fixed triangles, 4 objects, 5 objects. In one section of video that I've been doing over the last 3 months, I've been doing active research, every time it was clear night, and I was available, I was going out there and recording footage, which I could then analyse back when it's dark and the conditions are right. And I'm getting some pretty strange stuff. So apart from that clip that's just been on, which I'm going to show again, but this time talk it through, we're then going to go into a series of montages that I've put together exclusively for this, never been seen anywhere in the world, fresh from school. So if you're local, this is over our little bit of neighbourhood. But this is very representative of what many of the people around the world using similar equipment are getting. And I think it's very strange. So let's go back and let's just talk through this again. So you can see I'm looking around. Now, what you don't see is that in there, I'm going to show it again, missed it already, there was actually a 3rd object moving with it. Right, so are you ready? 2 or 3 seconds at the start. Watch for a faint object right at the start. Soon as I see it, where is it? There is an object just there, moving with it, in relation to the stars. It's almost imperceptible, but there is a 3rd faint object. And actually, they go around, they're bright, and I'm watching it, I'm just panning. We've had this conversation with Luke. But actually, at one point, for those that are sharp-eyed, another object will pass as they start to go across the sky. They will start to come down at an angle as a pair, and a little object briefly goes through there. No noise at any time during any of these recordings. But can we just, is that the only light that's going to illuminate me, Colin? Let's just try and make it a little bit darker by turning that light. Yeah, so I want to see how bright this is. This is just the background stars, and these 2 objects so serenely are going across there, no noise. And eventually what they're going to do is they're going to start to arc down as a pair, coming down, and very briefly, and I'm not going to tell you because it's that brief, you'll see an object pass by, go in the opposite direction. Always look for things moving in relation to the other stars. And you'll be surprised that when you actually start this process, how quickly this will begin. So, as I say, 2 lights, I'm watching this, and I know that I'm looking at something strange that you don't see every day. But of course, that was 5 years ago, I didn't know much then. But I knew I was looking at something odd. Now, if this is an aircraft in a bizarre flying formation, when you look through night vision, any navigation light, an aircraft have to have navigation lights, so any light source, so if there's 3, say, navigation lights on an aircraft, any of those 3 become 3 spheres of light to the night vision camera. And one of those navigation lights should always be on, off, on, off, on, off. We've all been on planes, we all look at the sky, see the plane, see the flashing lights, okay? One of them should always be blinking on, blinking off. So when the night vision camera sees it, it booms it up. So when you see real aircraft, and you'll see real aircraft clips at night, you'll see the difference very markedly. So you don't just have this, what you've got here, a single source of light. Yeah? Now look what's happening now. They've lost a lot of their intensity. And what I've found over time now I've studied them for a lot longer, is they often go off in sequences. This is not a random pattern, I don't believe. What they are, I'm not quite certain. But I know that, for me, they're not planes and they're not satellites. Okay? Now, as they come down, this one will start to blink off. There's no cloud, it's a beautiful clear night. And we've got a visual. These are at high altitude, and it's going to come down as a pair, and that one's going to say, right, I'm going now. It'll blink off, get fainter and fainter, and as soon as that one goes, about 30 seconds later, that one says, okay, I'm doing whatever, but I'm going as well. Now, if this was just now and again that you saw this, you put it down to, I don't know, just pure question mark. When it happens regularly, and you start to see patterns and start to see formations on a fairly regular basis, then I think there's some legitimate questions that need to be asked in trying to identify what these really are. See? This is a brilliantly clear night, and they've just gone. Gone, gone. So now you're going to see from the next bits on exclusive footage this summer. Right, watch this object. Okay, these 2 objects. Oh, right, they seem pretty fixed, moving together. They're going left to right. You can see how many stars there are. Okay, so let's work on the basis that these are a satellite formation. Okay, well, you know, common sense. It's got to be satellites. Okay, they're going that way. And there's 2. And there's 2, and I can only see 2. 1, 2. And I'm just panning around. This is what, 3 months ago. I'm just panning around, trying to keep, but what the hell's that? And we've got a perfect triangle. So I go, ooh, this is interesting. But watch, they move as a formation. Doesn't change until it starts to get smaller. And what I mean by that is, the only way it can get smaller to me, because there's no zoom facility on this, is if it's moving away from me, i.e. pulling away from it. Okay? So there you go. What flies in the sky other than the red arrows? Bear in mind, there's no noise ever associated with it. There's no navigation lights that's boom, boom, boom that will be emphasized by the night vision blurring up any kind of light. Even a little light would be a sphere of light through night vision. So, over Skulls, 2 miles away from here, this moving down at this angle, and you notice the angle is actually has changed slightly. but these have not. But I began to realise that as they're coming down, the only way that they could be changing in terms of the size on the screen from being over here, the width of there, to now being smaller, is that the object is actually doing this. If I'm here, the microphone, it's actually banking away. So therefore the three fixed objects are the same, but their angle in relation to me at a fixed point is moving away. It's banking away like an aircraft. But there you go, just serene, no noise. See how it's getting smaller? 1, 2, but it's fixed. You can see that the angle is changing. I'm not zooming in, so this can only mean that the angle in relation to me, they are moving away from me in some kind of slight turn. Now, for anybody that knows about satellites, satellites do this. They don't go, they can't make turns. So I'd say these aren't satellites. That manoeuvre where it's getting smaller in my viewfinder means that that is making a turn. But watch what happens. Gradually and gradually and gradually, the three fixed objects, 1, 2, they start to get harder to see. And like in that previous clip, they go, I'm going. And they just disappear. Against the stars aren't getting any dimmer, there's no clouds banking them out. They just seem to fade away. But that's like a 2-minute sequence of 3. Okay. So as soon as I can't see anymore, I'm thinking, well, I'll look for another. Is there anything else moving? So that's what you do. You stick with what you've got. You see, and I look at it this way. I aren't an expert in night vision, won't claim to be. But I am fascinated by what's going on here, and I find it hard to understand what is going on here. Alright? But look, you can see, gone, and we'll go into another montage clip. And I work on the basis that if there's one object, it's generally a lot easier for a skeptic to dismiss, put down as an aircraft, a meteor, whatever. But 3 objects moving in a triangle, what's that? It's not a plane. That's my tree in my garden. So it gives you good perspective to its altitude in relation to where I am. The tree is about 50 feet high, and that's towards the top of the tree. All right? So I pan around, I just spot that object, and I've deliberately done it that way. So we're looking at the night sky, and let's see if we can find anything. See, all you do, but the thing is, unlike many of the night vision clips that I've seen, where they have a much bigger portion of the sky, I'm only looking in tiny stamp-sized. If you think of it as a stamp or a postcard size of the sky, I am randomly, oh look, this is going there, all the other satellites have been going that way. Ooh. Now what's that? Was that a shooting star? First indication is that's a shooting star. But I tell you what, when you analyse it, I think it not. But we'll come back to that. Okay, so I've seen an object, it's moving. So let's work on the basis, logically as a policeman, this has got to be a satellite, we're following it. There's no aircraft, there's no pulsing lights, so this ain't a strobing aircraft or anything. So I'm following it, and I'm following it, and seeing what else happens. So I just follow its track. And I'm following it, and I'm following it, and I obviously move the camera. Oh, there's a bus going the other way. Satellite going the other way now. Hang on a minute. Satellites don't go 2 directions, they go 1. So this is a complete opposite to the original object that we were following. So if one of them's a satellite, hang on a minute. What is that? Oh, what's that? It's Clapham Junction. None of these are planes. No navigation lights, no pulsing, no strobing. They're crossing over. Okay, so I'm thinking, which one do I follow? So I end up panning around a bit and saying, I usually go with which is the brightest, because it's clearer for the camera. So look, there's one there. So okay, oh, there's one there. And what you have here is it's not a pair like the others that we first saw. This is a diversion set of 2. They're both going out in the general same direction, but they're actually getting wider and wider. They are not a pair. You get fixed pairs, fixed triangles. This is not a pair. So let's concentrate on this one. And occasionally I'll think, where's the other one? Where's the other one? So you'll see me pan up. Okay? Now this isn't rocket science. Any one of us could go out with a camera and get this footage. I'm absolutely certain of this, if you've got the patience to do it. So again, I'm looking at, and I've gone up there to see if, where's the other one? Oh, there, so I'll focus on this one, should I? And you know when something's moving, you actually develop quite an eye for it. Because after a while, your eyes just get used to any slight movement, and you think, oh, what's that? So there you go, I've gone up a bit, that's a fainter object, and then I'll probably go back down again. So I'm trying to see how many of the objects are moving before focusing on one. Okay, so we've already had a crossover. Now, I'm going to start to use the term crossover more. Oh, is that the one that I was looking at? Because I've been up there. Is that the one I was looking at? Well, probably is. I mean, how many things are up there? So, okay, I'll stay on this one and see what happens. So I'm staying on this one. Okay, we've already seen we've seen 4 objects so far. 2 crossovers, 4 objects, and I've decided to concentrate on this. Wow, what's this? Oh my God, we've got a pair. It's not changing, it's not speeding up. Oh, right, so of course, as soon as you get 2 objects, I work on the basis that's getting harder and harder for a skeptic to give a logical answer to. So I look around a bit, and what I've found now is that if you look around when you've got 2, you might have, well, there's 1 there, there's 2 that, like a magician, we've got 3. We've got 3 in a line there. 1, 2, 3. When I get it panned all correct, you'll see 3. Oh, well there we've got, oh my God, we've got another one. Alright, so I'm trying to work out which is which now. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, that's odd. That's diverging slower. Let's concentrate on these 3. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Fine. And once I get it in frame, 1, 2, 3, their positions don't change. So that's a triangular fixed formation. No navigation lights, no noise ever associated with any of these. And I'm watching and I'm beginning to see patterns. And that's just with 3 months dedicated research over the last 3 months. So, what are these 3 objects? Now, if you remember, we had a triangular formation before, and it's going in the same direction, although a slightly different angle, but it was a 3. And what you'll see me doing is looking around. Right, ooh, let's press pause there. See that? 4 frames, and I'll take that back because you might have missed it before we go into the next sequence. Did you see 4 specific? You remember that thing that we said was a shooting star? Okay. Well, if it's a shooting star, then if anybody's watched the sky, amateur astronomers, it is, and sometimes you can get a burning effect as it's burning up in the atmosphere. But they're generally not fixed objects in terms of size. It's a ball of light quickly burning up, fizzle and gone. They're that quick. But when you freeze frame, I'll take that back. Right, so just let that clip run. Right, oh, perfect. Well, how lucky is that? And it's actually not showing it here because the screen is probably slightly off, but the object that's shot across there is there. Okay, so I'll let it run and then pause it when it will come into frame. So on my screen now, in that top left hand, you might just see it, there is a cylindrical object. Well, let's just say it's an object that is of a cylindrical shape, a tube, however you want to describe it, with a fixed length. Okay? And it's very clear in mind. So, next one. Now here's the interesting thing. If this was motion blur, because it's just a piece of debris burning up, then the shake of the camera, or the whiz across the camera, would probably mean it wasn't going to be fixed in its length through the frames. The stars are absolutely pinpoint. So this is not a shake of camera, motion blur, that is fixed. These are fixed. So this is, when you look at it, and it does look different to shooting stars, believe me, if you watch the footage over and over again, you can see the big difference. And I guess I've developed a bit of an eye. This is an extremely large cylindrical object, moving beyond our vision capability of seeing. Let's go to the next still. Now I'd argue that that's the same size as it was there, and it was in this first frame. And there'll be one more there. Now obviously I'm taking a still, so part of it will be captured pristine, sharp, there'll be a slight blurring. But the size and the shape is constant. So those 4 frames to me suggest that a very fast cylindrical object, notice it might not show it up that bright on here. So first frame, second frame, third frame, fourth frame. Every time consistent, which says to me that that may well be some genuine anomalous cylindrical object. I don't know what that is. Very fast moving. Okay, so let's go back in the video. I find that a fascinating series of stills from an evidential point of view. Here we go, we've got a nice bright object going up there, and this is only a short sequence because I just want to show what's called crossovers. They're just nicknames that I'm putting over what other people put over. So crossover here, so this is going essentially right to left up at say a 45-degree angle. Forget this is just like a glitch in the lens, okay? So there you are, pan around, but watch for an object there. No noise, no noise, no noise, no noise, no noise, no noise, faint, crossover, opposite direction. Satellites, that one. No navigation lights, boosted by the night vision. Okay, next sequence. Now, let's just pause this and I'll set this up. Because this almost looks like it's done in daylight. It's not. But it is, you know, like on the nice long summer nights, where you'll have a lovely, not that we get that many nice nights, but when you do, it will stay bright till 10, 10:30, almost dusky conditions. And this is what this is. Now I am just sat in the garden, nothing special, my little table, a little cup of tea, my laptop, hooked up, camera, and all I'm doing is panning. Now, again, from my Air Force days, and knowing what I know about the sky and the way planes, I used to live the other side of Wakefield, which was on the regular Manchester airport run. So you would see 5 or 6 aircraft taxi into their next destination, low altitude. You'd get to see which flight paths they were on. Now, we live on, again, close to Manchester, so you get to see out the kind of flight path and track that they're on. So it becomes quite familiar, just almost in the background. Okay? So what you're not used to seeing is objects that appear to go straight down or straight up. Even though that might be an optical illusion, because it's just the angle, you generally don't see that as sharply defined. Well, in night vision, I'm finding that almost you get objects that go straight up and straight down. Now, I'm not doing overheads. Very rarely do I do perpendicular 90-degree overheads. This is mainly, if this is ground horizon, I am basically just doing this. Up, down, maybe 60, 80 degrees, left or right. Very rarely do I go straight up. So in a sense, at those shallow angles, we shouldn't really be seeing things that are coming down to the ground. Or look, they're not going to crash, but they look like they're going down to the ground. It's an odd trajectory. But you see this regularly. So this is light sky just before it's got really dark. Now let's see what happens. You like this? Not a lot. Right, so I'm tracking one object. coming down, and I am only here. The trees, top of my... Oh, sorry, there's a bus coming. That's the satellite... what's that? No navigation lights, so that's a crossover. The amount of times you see objects cross on a path that you're fixed on. So, all right, let's go back to my original object. Now I'm actually very close to the ground here. This is a very shallow angle, and you'll see at the end of the sequence how... Oh, hang on a minute. Whoop. So, satellite, which is a satellite? I don't know. They're only supposed to go one way. No navigation lights, no noise. There's my tree. So you can see how shallow this is in relation to where I am on the ground. So we have a fixed pair. We've already seen one cross up there and then go down, because they're going to go, I know that they're going to go behind the tree, that pair, so I can't see them anymore. So I go back to the original one that I saw coming down. So you'll see me looking for it, and there it is. Bear in mind the tree is on here. And you'll see that I'm very fortunate to look out to countryside and a large hillside. So I have a lovely silhouette of the hill coming up. So you can see that this is just meandering down. But as it gets closer in the visual to the ground, even though it's a pristine, beautiful summer night, oh, I've decided to go. Okay, so it just fades out and goes, but it's very shallow. Right, let me just take that back, because I want to set this one up. Okay. Now, for those people that study night vision, we all adopt our kind of phrases to describe. So, I'm not the first to use the word crossover, but one of the things that you'll hear in night vision clips is flare-ups and power-ups. And what that means is people track one object and then suddenly that light source goes right? I've never seen that on a big scale, but for the first time and exclusively, this is probably one of the best flare-up sequences I've ever seen worldwide. And it's captured 2 miles away from Scholes in sunny old West Yorkshire. Alright, so let's play this. Again, you'll see me panning around the sky. Now what really adds to this is it's quite atmospheric. And it's atmospheric because it's done through cloud. You have got clouds as a reference point, little wispy clouds. So it looks kind of spooky, but it looks really nice. But it becomes relevant in this shot. And I'm going to play the sequence twice. Because the first time you see it, I think you'll be impressed. The second time you'll realise what you missed. If that makes sense. Okay. Well, this is the best single object I've ever seen. Okay? So, that's coming to me, and I'm sat here, it's coming here, I visually see it. Visually. Go back to track it. That's a shooting star, did you see that? I'm going to play it again, so don't worry. So it's coming towards me at this kind of angle. And then it starts to affect the lens, getting brighter, brighter. And then watch what it does. Note the cloud, wispy cloud. Okay? Now I want you to keep an eye on the cloud and how it passes, or appears to pass through the cloud. It may be an optical illusion. But what's not an optical illusion is the turn that it makes. Okay, watch it turn and an arc. Now, speed up, and the clouds actually add to it. It's going away from me, it's getting smaller, and it's effectively arcing to the left. Okay, and we stay with it. You see the clouds are kind of adding to this atmospheric shot. So that was really, and then it's gone away. And it's gone away, and I'm following it, and it appears to go behind the cloud. These are just stars that are obviously fixed, and I keep tracking it and tracking it and tracking it. And this was about 2 weeks ago. Right? So I watch it to, I can't see it anymore, but keep an eye out for an extremely bright object going the opposite direction, which is obviously the counterclockwise south. Not. Okay? So, oh, what's this? You just remember me saying how many times actually when you've tracked one, you see others. Go in the total opposite direction. Now you can't have it both ways. It's either a plane or a satellite. There's no navigation lights, no noise. It's a satellite with a catwalk through, cross over like that. Okay? So off it goes, and this is the end of the sequence, and then we're going to play it again. And I might just pause it to make you aware of what you just watched. Because the more you watch it, the more you see, and the more impressive it becomes. So this is effectively the end of the sequence. And then I'm going to cut back to where you first see the moving object again. So you can see how pristine the stars are. They pick up anything. You might only see 10, but there's all these. And this is a small postcard size of the sky. I'm not looking all at the sky, I'm looking at a tiny section of the sky. But this much activity in the random tiny bit that I'm looking at, what's the odds that I'm going to capture in that little postcard space? Alright, so this is it again. Now let me pause that there before it goes further, because I want to get this precise. Okay? I am sat here looking out towards the hill in my direction, in my vision that I look at. It's a nice silhouette of a hill. My camera is here, my table, my laptop is here. So I'm sat there. I drop and break the clicker. No. Just say the truth of there, right? You just carried on with that and made a joke. Right? Good. So, basically, I'm here and I pan through looking through the screen. So as soon as I see anything moving, I go, can I see it? Do I get a visual confirmation? So I look on the laptop, somewhat moving there, I look up, and I noticed it's a shallow angle. Right, so if you can see the height, if you were on stage with me now, you would see an upper balcony. The object comes in, so if you all want to look over your shoulder at where these people, where the poster is, the banner, UFO Truth magazine, in relation to where I am, and sat there, oh, thank you very much, it's just batteries up now. Right, I'm sat here, I see the object. It's coming in from my right, but it is only at an angle of that balcony. This is not way up in the sky. And I'm first thinking it's a plane on it with its strobes on, that it's, you know, it's got its headlights on for lay people. Yeah, it's just got its lights on, and I'm just seeing a bright light. But this is low, thank you. All right? And it's coming towards me, and I'm sat there, and of course when we first see it, it's just like any of the objects coming towards me. But I'm getting a visual. So as soon as I get a visual, I then go back so I can track it. Because that's the main thing, capturing that sequence. So, it's coming in at balcony level kind of thing, right to left. And then I've gone back to the screen. So this is where we are now. So that's the angle. It's a fairly shallow angle. And watch what happens. It starts getting towards me, and I notice that it's getting brighter. How do I notice? Because basically, what you have is anything that's extremely bright starts to flicker and distort because it's too bright for the lens of the camera, because it's 350, it's not 3050 in terms of its value and quality of kit. So it's burning out the lens. So that's when I knew that it was starting to brighten up, because it's on my screen, you start to see little black lines, it's burning out. And if ever you have tried to record on your mobile phone the moon with binoculars hooked up to anything, it just distorts it. It's too bright, unless you've got a really top quality camera. Okay? So let's see what happens now. It starts to get brighter, I'm aware of the effect in the lens. See the little flicker in there? This is it burning into the lens, as this to say, this is getting brighter and brighter. My lens of my poor quality camera, I guess, low quality camera, it can't handle it. So I know it's getting brighter, but that bright? Now imagine when we first saw this clip, this was a little dot down here, this was just a bright sphere like any other clips. So it's come, and it's powering up. And I was taken aback, in a good way. But then watch what happens. And you don't realise it when you first see it. So, Objects coming in, right to left, coming towards me. Powers up. And then you see it getting smaller. Now, is it powering down and gone smaller because it's just powering down, or is it because it's changed direction? I think, when you watch this enough times like I have, that we come close to almost a right angle turn here. There is a clear turn. Because you watch it again, and with the aid of the clouds, so it's coming in, essentially coming in like this, poof, gone the opposite direction. And that's why it's getting smaller. Powers down, but it's going the opposite direction. And so, let's concede. So let's take this through and see what I mean. Now, you can see that it's powering down, but in relation to the other stars, you can already see through the cloud, and obviously it's brighter on just a laptop, it physically seems to change its appearance, which means that it's going away from the camera and getting smaller. Yeah? It's going off into the distance. Now think about this. This was coming in here, and now it is going there. I'm not saying it's a definite right turn, but what I'm saying is it's made a right turn, which says it ain't a plane, it ain't a satellite. Yeah? So it's powered up, and the clouds in this case actually help us. Because as I then start to follow it, it's getting smaller and smaller. You can see it, and the clouds come into view. It's getting further and further. It almost goes into like a tube of cloud. And at one point you will see it physically appear to accelerate. There. It's like gone through the cloud. And you can see it going away, and then you'll see it kind of arc. It's arcing round. The clouds mean that it's arcing. And it's arcing away. So from approaching me here, it's done this. Woof, woof. Coming in, power up, woof, and away. What can do that? No noise, low altitude. You can see the angle, it's the balcony altitude. So it's come in, powered up, poof, gone, and away. I think that's really impressive. Look. And I might be wrong. But you can see that that's got smaller and it's gone away. Does that kind of make sense? I ain't a scientist, but I'm using common sense. And that to me is an extremely odd clip. And then just to finish it off, we've just got another crossover. Alright? And that's the end of that sequence. But I want to show you something else, very briefly. So nobody in the world has ever seen that sequence before. It's put together especially for this. Is that interesting? Yes. For me, I don't know what the hell I'm looking at. I think I know what it is, but I can't think of a logical terrestrial explanation, astronomical, to explain what that is. Okay? Now, I was sent some footage. How long have I got left, Colin? I've got 10? Right, okay. I want to show you this clip because I think some of the people are in the audience. I won't call them out. Alright, but I was made aware of some footage that had originally been passed to the UFO group Beams, and I wasn't aware of it because nobody told me about it. I don't look at Beams all the time. And anyway, I was contacted, and I've subsequently got a sighting report from 3 of the 4 witnesses. But this is a night vision clip using exactly the same equipment that I have. So this was intriguing to me. And have you ever seen, like in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, there they have the meeting at the top of the mountain, and then there's a big light show. Well, this is a black and white clip, but this is one hell of a light show. With 3 objects moving a triangle, fixed, and they go into a light show that I think you deserve to see. Because I've never seen anything like it, and I've been following UFOs for 40 years. Right, and I might speed it on a bit, because it's an 11-minute clip, and time is against us, but let's put this into aspect. There's the horizon. See the trees briefly? We've got 10. 20. All right, so you said 10. Is it 10 or 20? 20? 20. Oh, that's good. I'll play the whole sequence. Okay, that's good. Okay, let's go full screen. That's not me, believe it or not. Do you know what causes that? It goes to blue screen on the Nightvision because the lead comes loose that's plugged in. So you have to push it back in again. So that's the way it goes. But right, we know that there's a low ground there, and he's focusing on these three objects. Okay? And they're just moving around. They're actually probably at least another 5 or 6 objects that I've detected when I watch this footage. Okay, but we're going to play it in full now. Alright, so these are essentially the three. When you put the batteries in, you probably put them in the wrong way, Colin, because it won't switch on. Alright, so if you can sort that out, it would... Oh no, it's come back on. Oh, tell you a lie. Oh, there we go. Thank you, Colin. Right, so essentially, let's just concentrate on these three. There are other objects, but forget about these three, because it's these three that do the light show. So this is similar to what I've recorded, similar kind of quality background, 3 objects. And what you'll see is that they're just meandering. This is not high altitude. You've seen it in that early clip. They're not going up and down. They're relatively low altitude, and you're thinking, well, that's maybe 3 planes. But again, they're fixed. You can tell that that is a fixed, and the angle that you're looking at is probably sideways on. So you've got 1 point of the light, 2 points of the light, and the third one, but it looks to you like a plate. Yeah? But it's actually a triangle in 3 lines. Okay? Now, you'll see that the odd flash, so their natural instinct was that these must be aircraft, because we're now starting to see what they perceived was navigation lights. Okay? Now, I don't know about you, but what starts to happen in a couple of minutes' time, I've never seen navigation lights do this. So let's just keep watching. And they start to flash a bit more. A bit more. And their intensity is going up and down. Some are fade, they start to fade. Some almost go out and then they come back, flare up, peak. But you see they're now starting to like pulse. It appears random, but this is now what I would call they're all pulsing in some formation. So we've got 3 lights that to me looks fixed, with this object probably nearest to the camera, because it appears to be the biggest one all the time. That might not actually be true, but I'm just surmising that if this were a triangle side on, and you're looking at it sideways, this might be the one closest to us. Or is it this one? Oh, we're now starting to see a bit of a power up, flare up, however you want to call it. Okay, oh, it's gone back down again. No, in relation, the angle's changed a little bit, so it might be on its side, just turning slightly, which would affect the angle. But let's start to go into this light show. Okay. Okay. Oh, wow. Have you ever seen planes do this? In formation. Navigation lights doing this. This was taken over the New Forest in April. But look, this is a, if you think of Close Encounters, boom, 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 boom. This kind of reminds me of that without the colour. All the music. All the films. But, okay. Ooh. Oh, we'll all flare up together. Oh, 2 of us will flare up. Oh, I'm going. Well, maybe not. So you can see how the fixed triangle is still there. It's just changing its angle. But you see what a shot that is. What a shot. Now I say to everybody who does nighttime vision, at some point during your anomalous clip, or that you think is anomalous, go down to the ground, give me some perspective as to where you are. Give me a ground. So that's perfect horizon. So we can see that this isn't high altitude. Trees. This is way overhead. So some clever mathematician, physicist, will be able to work out precisely an estimated height and size of those objects should we have that kind of clever person, which I'm not. But somebody could, based on that fact that you have now got an horizon at which a mathematician can work out the angles and therefore able to extrapolate the calculation based on size. You can see it's slow moving, but this is a weird set of flashing. I have never seen anything like this in the sky. This is not just random. Now, to us, it's just a collection of bunch of lights. But who's to say that there is not some pattern, message in that we just have a clue? But I can't think of anything logically in terms of conventional aircraft that could put on that kind of light show, and there was no noise whatsoever. 3 of the 4 witnesses, the 4th one hasn't sent his phone back, he's got it. And also, interestingly, several other reports were made across the county and in a slightly other area, including people saying, I saw 3 flashing lights in a sequence. So you've got confirmation from different geographical areas that something was in the sky. Well, look at this as a light show. This is phenomenal. How do we explain that in rational, conventional ways? No noise, relatively low altitude, 3 objects putting on, for me, a light show. What it means, I don't know. But I think that's an incredibly impressive sequence. Now, nobody's ever seen this, other than the people on the Beams website who happen to click on it, and they probably haven't. So do you not think that's an impressive clip? I do. And the real question with all of this is, I don't say for certain what it is. But what I say is, some bright person should be telling me what that is and be able to back it up. Yeah? And unfortunately, with this kind of subject, people capture good evidence, but nobody analyses it. We don't have a world-class facility that I could say, oh, Gary, Heseltine researcher in the UK, let's send it to one place, top place in the world, sending UFO footage. We should have all that. We should have had it 50 years ago. But unfortunately, we fight and squabble with each other. My group's better than your group, and it's all very childish. But that's where we should have been. Why aren't some people who've been abducted, who are businessmen, who are millionaires, saying, here you go, Gary, let's have you there. That's just a loose lead again. You know, let's create this world-class place, this repository of all the best evidence. I remember saying years ago, I'll show you the areas where it was seen. Yeah? Within the same kind of time frame, people reporting 3. So different geographical position adds evidence. Independent evidence, in a police term, means random people who don't know each other from different geographical positions all reporting the same incident from different perspectives. That is brilliant evidence. That's the best evidence you can have as a police officer. Independent evidence. They're not your best mate. Oh, yeah, we both saw it. People who you don't know, different parts of the country. Independent evidence.